We are continuing from Kauffman Stadium opening day, and we are happy to be welcoming on Sarah Tourville, the Executive Vice President of the Kansas City Royals. Sarah, good morning. How are you?
Well, good morning. It's a beautiful day for baseball, so thank you for joining us here today.
It is. It is a great day for baseball. You know, we were talking about this just now before coming on the air. You have kind of become one of the faces of this franchise here the last few weeks in the wake of this dramatic vote yes, vote no campaign. Is that anything that you anticipated here when you took this job 4.5 years ago?
It absolutely is not. I mean, I've had the privilege of working under this ownership group since the acquisition took over, primarily in a business operations role. So, you know, lucky enough to go to community events and attract partners and season ticket members, but certainly not. I didn't foresee being the face of a political campaign.
Well, it's amazing. You know, your career is extensive in sports media. You ran the ESPN offices out of Chicago. So you've got a broad background in sports media. But as you were noting, this has gotten highly political in a way that no one really probably anticipated. How much has that surprised you?
Well, you know, we were just talking, sports has the power to bring people together and really inspire us at a time when the world can be quite divisive. Mm-hmm. I think the irony of this issue is that it's become so divisive in our community. It has surprised me. I mean, I think that decisions like this, and especially when you're talking about taxes, you know, fuels people's energy and passion. Certainly some of the order of operations were frustrating and confusing to residents of Jackson County. So I think they've been waiting, and that anticipation builds emotion. But I really never imagined it'd come to such a place where there was so much, I don't want to say negative energy, but just hostile energy between where you stand on one side or the other.
What as you look back, and we can Monday morning quarterback this no matter how Tuesday plays out, but is there something over the last few weeks or few months that you regret the way it went, or feel like if we had done this better, maybe this is less controversial today, a few days out of Tuesday?
Sure. Well, I mean, I think that we have to remind people this isn't just about downtown baseball, but it's about downtown baseball and keeping the Chiefs in Kansas City. So you have two teams running parallel paths trying to solidify their plans. I think the one thing that we have regret and empathy for is the order of operations with the Crossroads announcement. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that are things we can't control, and some of that was things we could control. And so I wish we had more time to communicate on an individual basis before that announcement was made.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, if that comes out in the fall, what was the thing that pushed back the timeline from September to then the announcement coming in February?
Yeah, well, you know, when you're in a negotiation, you have to have two sides at the table negotiating things. So there were stalls in the process. Things weren't moving forward. When we started down this path, I mean, we really believed that the East Village site was a clear path. And based on delays and impediments to the process, North Kansas City arose. So now you're running two parallel paths. We came out thinking that one of those two sites would be our final site, and each had great opportunities and each had challenges. The Crossroads and downtown neighborhood ballpark had always been something that John Sherman and the ownership group thought was the best location and place to really complement and complete downtown Kansas City. But I would tell you it really wasn't until October that presented itself in a way that we were like, oh my gosh, wow. And then you start evaluating many things. I don't know if you know this, but in East Village, you would have had to displace people from their homes. So that was always bringing us pause, which made North Kansas City have a bit of an advantage.
And you got the homeless shelters, multiple homeless shelters right there.
And then both of those sites would have had significantly higher infrastructure commitments, which would have come from the city and the state, but ultimately through, you know, residents in the state of Missouri. So those were two things. And then also, I think had we gone to East Village, people would have been scrutinizing the fact that we were now taking away from the rest of downtown and trying to build a separate arts and entertainment center, when indeed we felt like it was a win-win to complement this. You've got the cap over 670. You have the opportunity to continue to really invest in public transportation and the streetcar and connect multiple neighborhoods. We're talking a lot about the Crossroads, and the Crossroads is important, but what about the West Side and the 18th and Vine District? I mean, this is going to be catalytic for multiple neighborhoods in truly completing downtown Kansas City.
When you look at yesterday's announcement with Oak Street, how important was that in terms of making sure that you make it look not make it look like you're listening, but you are listening to some of the concerns people had, and saying, hey, here's some adjustments we can make. Is that something that was important to you and ownership to say, hey, we will talk to people and realize, hey, maybe we can tweak this, tweak that? Is that a way of you basically lending out a hand and saying, we want to work through this together? Is that the point of that whole announcement yesterday?
It absolutely is. I think we underestimated that Oak was such an artery to the downtown traffic, whether it's pedestrian, bike, or automobile. The Crossroads Community Association, from the first time we started meeting with them, which was literally within days of the announcement, that was a prominent message that kept coming over and over again. And then, of course, having that message reiterated through City Council, through the mayor, it was really important to us that we want to be as least of a distraction and as additive as possible. Keeping Oak open as that artery seems to be the thing that many people, even many of the supporters, wanted to ensure happened.
So what gets cut then if Oak remains open?
Well, we don't anticipate the footprint changing much, honestly. So the stadium will take up about 13 acres of land. The district and development planning is continuing to happen. So this allows us a little more time to have those individual conversations with businesses to try to bring as many of them into the footprint as possible. I'd love to see it someday where, part of Oak is closed down on a game day just to enjoy the streets and getting people out and the vibrancy of that. We felt like acknowledging that Oak was really important to people before the election was important, not because it's about winning votes, but because they needed to know that we heard them and that we were listening.
Mm-hmm. When we talk about how this has become so political, do you have, maybe regret's the wrong word, but are you disappointed in how much this has gotten to the point where now you guys are saying, hey, if this doesn't work out, we have to look at all our options? Is that something that you anticipated having to say just a few weeks ago?
I really didn't, and I guess I would point back even, the connection of Frank White to the Kansas City Royals. I think that surprises people that our partnership is not stronger. These teams, we've been committed here for 50 years. I still am optimistic and believe that we will be partners of Jackson County for another 40 years. But we would be remiss if we didn't think about what is the alternative option. I use the analogy all the time, right? Like if you're in a bad relationship and somebody doesn't want to be with you, ultimately you have to make a decision that's best for you, for the brand, and for our future. As I said, I believe that this ownership group is committed to staying where we are, and I think I speak for the Chiefs when I say that. So we're optimistic and hopeful that we win the vote on Tuesday.
And politicians, though, they do come and go. So could you wait out certain politicians who are not maybe looking to play ball, no pun intended, with you guys on this deal?
I think you have to be cautious that you don't wait too long. I would draw to Oakland. I mean, Oakland waited, and they tried to push this against different constituents and stakeholders, and ultimately they ended up in Las Vegas, or will end up in Las Vegas.
And when you talk about, there's always this thought process of, okay, we have to look at all our options. Is it fair to say the options, if things don't go the way you want them to go on Tuesday, are still regional in nature?
I think John Sherman and this ownership group, all people who have raised their families here, built their businesses, that is their hope and intention. I think the regional aspect is really key and important. There are opportunities that are presented to us. I don't think we're at a place where we can even focus on that. We've had so much. We really want to get this right, and you get this opportunity once in a lifetime as an ownership group. So taking the diligence, taking time and having diligence is important. But you can't wait until it's too late. I mean, you've heard the conversation about how far in advance the 2006 lease was negotiated. Before that, the lease before that was 9 years in advance. This is not too early. And if we don't capitalize on this for both teams and provide Chiefs with greater optionality to do things out at Truman Sports Complex while the Royals continue to, focus on a downtown development, I think we'll miss out. What
is the thing as you look at the next 4 or 5 days here? What is the message? Because there has been a lot of different messaging around this from both sides. What do you really want people to think about when they go to the polls either this week or next Tuesday and they're thinking about this ballpark? Because the no faction is not just some of the loud groups. It's I like the K. It's I don't want to go downtown. It's the ballpark's great. There's all these different little spin-off groups. What would your message be to anybody who's still on the fence right now?
Yeah, it's such a great question. And as you mentioned, there's so many facets. I think the first easiest thing to think about is thinking about what these two teams have done for Kansas City and keeping them in Kansas City. I would also say that it was really important that both teams provided a better deal to taxpayers. So we'll have over $460 million in benefits as opposed to what you're paying as a taxpayer today. So the $200 million in savings and then the $260 million in community benefits.
And that's over the lifetime of the 40-year deal?
Yeah.
Okay.
But and the last thing I'd say is we're so focused on planning for today. This isn't necessarily for us. We have to be thinking as a city about, continuing to be on the global map, to do something transformative, to plan for our kids, for our grandkids, for the futures, to continue to elevate all the great things that are happening in Kansas City. And if we wait and think that it's going to happen automatically, I think we're remiss, and other cities are going to pass us by and continue to attract other companies, other massive global events like we're benefiting from, for example, with the World Cup.
Do you have any concerns with, in the wake of COVID especially, and you got here right before COVID, you know how the business model has changed with COVID, where there's not as many people going to a true downtown location for anything anymore. There's more work from home. There's more of all that. How much did that factor into the equation, if at all, as you guys were putting together these plans?
Well, a catalytic development like this spurs incremental residential development, so we anticipate significantly more people living in downtown Kansas City. If you think about that, all those people are walking to the ballpark. Now they have the opportunity to work, live, and play in the same vicinity. I mean, we met with some people last night in the area. They couldn't be more ecstatic. They're like, oh, my gosh, I don't have to get on public transportation. But then you couple that with the advancements in the streetcar. 20% of people will be taking public transportation to games. I mean, we're not planning again for what our behaviors are today. It's for the future. I think certainly maybe people are working from home more, but they're looking for leisure activities, entertainment options. This is going to provide that entertainment 365 days a year, not just 81 nights of the year of coming out to the K.
Okay, and that's in reference to the entertainment that will be around it, right?
Yeah, and complementing. I mean, we have the opportunity to be the greatest arts, cultural, sports center. And I encourage everybody to dream a little bit. I mean, what does that look like? Maybe it's never been done before. Mm-hmm. How do we really capitalize on the authenticity of those neighborhoods and bring that culture? You've got jazz in the 18th and Vine District. You have the arts and entertainment and, Kaufman Center right there. I mean, suddenly you're stimulating something pretty unique, and then you bring sports into the hub of that and continue to complement what the KC Current's doing. And obviously the Chiefs and their international footprint is pretty significant. It puts Kansas City really at the well above its weight class in terms of a small market.
Well, it is going to be very interesting to see what happens on Tuesday. I know fair to say you'll be taking a couple days off after Tuesday?
You know what? I mean, I can't wait to just be watching baseball
and
focus on baseball games. But yes, I will enjoy at least one day off, maybe of just laying in my pajamas doing nothing. But in the meantime, I mean, it is so fun to be out here on opening day. It always brings so much hope and it inspires. And today is a full house, a sellout crowd. So we're really excited to get the season going. And of course, we encourage people, if you are a Jackson County registered voter, please get out and vote, whatever your decision may be, but use your voice.
There you go. Sarah Tourville, the Executive Vice President of the Royals. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank
We appreciate
you.
It
It was a pleasure being with you.
You bet. Sarah Tourville on KCMO.